The silence after Jungkook's warning felt heavier than the storm outside. Taehyung stood frozen near the window, his lips still burning from the kiss, while Jungkook transformed in front of him like someone pulling a mask over a wound. 1 second he had been warm, desperate, almost human. The next, he was terrifyingly untouchable. The phone call ended. Jungkook slipped the burner back into his pocket and reached for the black suit jacket draped over the chair. The movement was calm, practiced. Too practiced. Bedroom. Now. Taehyung didn't move. Tell me what's going on first. A flicker of irritation crossed Jungkook's face, but underneath it was something worse, fear. There are people downstairs who would carve this hotel apart just to get close to me, Jungkook said quietly. And if they see you beside me, they'll use you to bleed me out slowly. Taehyung swallowed hard. Who are they? Jungkook gave a humorless smile. The kind of people I used to be. Before Taehyung could ask another question, the penthouse lights flickered once. Then twice. The soft jazz playing through the penthouse speakers died abruptly. Darkness swallowed the room for half a second before the emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in a dim crimson glow. Jungkook's expression changed instantly. Not fear. Instinct. He moved toward the table, pulling open a hidden compartment beneath it. Taehyung's breath caught when he saw the gun inside, sleek black metal glinting beneath the red light. Jungkook. Bedroom. Now. His voice was sharper this time, but Taehyung stayed rooted to the floor. Outside the penthouse, distant shouting echoed through the hallway. Fast footsteps followed. Too many footsteps. Jungkook loaded the weapon with practiced precision, his jaw tightening. You should have left when you had the chance, he muttered. Taehyung stared at him. You say things like you want me gone, but you kissed me like you were terrified I would disappear. That hit something deep. Jungkook froze for a fraction of a second. Lightning flashed across the massive windows, illuminating the storm raging over the city, and for one heartbeat, Taehyung saw it clearly. Jungkook looked exhausted. Not physically, emotionally, like a man who had spent years surviving instead of living. A loud bang suddenly exploded from outside the suite door. Taehyung jumped. Another bang followed immediately after. Someone was trying to force their way in. Jungkook grabbed Taehyung by the wrist and pulled him close enough that their chests collided. Listen carefully, Jungkook said, breathing hard. If they come inside, you run to the emergency stairwell behind the bedroom closet. Hoseok will find you. And what about you? Jungkook gave him a crooked smile that didn't reach his eyes. I'm usually the problem people run from. The door outside cracked violently. A voice shouted from the hallway. Ji and Jungkook. The penthouse fell silent. Then Jungkook leaned down suddenly, pressing one quick desperate kiss against Taehyung's forehead. Soft. Painfully soft. As soon as this ends, he whispered, you're going to hate me. And before Taehyung could ask what he meant, the front door burst open. The front door burst open. 3 men in black suits stormed into the penthouse, rainwater dripping from their shoulders, guns raised without hesitation. Taehyung's breath caught in his throat. Jungkook stepped in front of him instantly. Protective. Deadly. The crimson emergency lights painted shadows across his face, turning him into something sharp and dangerous. One of the men smirked. Long time no see, boss. Jungkook's grip tightened around the gun. You picked a terrible night to betray me. The man laughed softly. No, he said, glancing toward Taehyung. I think this is the perfect night. Taehyung felt Jungkook tense beside him. That tiny reaction was all the intruders needed. So it's true, another man murmured. Ji and Jungkook finally found something he cares about. The room became suffocatingly quiet. Jungkook's voice dropped low enough to send chills down Taehyung's spine. Careful. But the warning came too late. One of the men suddenly lunged forward, aiming directly for Taehyung. Everything happened at once. A gunshot exploded through the suite. Taehyung screamed. The attacker collapsed to the marble floor with blood spreading beneath him. Jungkook had fired without hesitation. The remaining 2 men immediately raised their weapons. Another shot rang out from the hallway. One body dropped. Then another. Hoseok appeared in the shattered doorway, breathing heavily, a gun hanging loosely in his hand. Basement's compromised, Hoseok barked. We need to move now. Taehyung stared in horror at the bodies on the floor. This wasn't some dramatic fantasy anymore. People were dying. Because of Jungkook. Jungkook turned toward him quickly, reaching for his wrist again. Don't look at them. But Taehyung pulled back instinctively. That single movement changed everything. Jungkook froze. For the first time since they met, genuine hurt crossed his face. Small, brief, but devastating. You're scared of me now, Jungkook said quietly. Taehyung opened his mouth, but no words came out. Because he was scared. Not of the gun. Not of the blood. but of how badly part of him still wanted to stay. Another explosion echoed somewhere below the hotel, shaking the entire floor. Hoseok cursed under his breath. Jungkook. Jungkook kept his eyes locked on Taehyung for one long painful second. Then he made a decision. The cold mask returned instantly. Fine, he said flatly. Guess the fantasy ends here. Those words hurt far more than they should have. Jungkook stepped back, creating distance between them like a blade sliding across skin. Hoseok, he ordered coldly, get him out of the building. Taehyung's chest tightened. And for the first time that night, Jungkook didn't look back at him. Hoseok grabbed Taehyung's arm firmly. We have to go. Right now. But Taehyung couldn't move. Jungkook stood near the shattered doorway, gun still hanging loosely at his side. Blood splattered across the sleeve of his black shirt. The crimson emergency lights flickered over him like warning signs. He looked untouchable again, like the man from the elevator, like someone Taehyung had imagined he could save. Another violent tremor shook the building. Somewhere below them, alarms started screaming through the hotel. Hoseok pulled harder. Taehyung. Finally, Taehyung stumbled backward toward the hallway leading to the bedroom. And only then did Jungkook speak again. Don't contact him after tonight. The words were directed at Hoseok, but they stabbed straight through Taehyung. Hoseok frowned. Jungkook, that's an order. Taehyung stared at him in disbelief. You're just throwing me away? Jungkook's jaw tightened dangerously. You think this is throwing you away? He snapped suddenly. I'm trying to keep you alive. By pretending none of this meant anything? Silence. Heavy, painful silence. The storm outside roared louder against the glass windows. Taehyung laughed bitterly, tears burning behind his eyes. You kissed me like you needed me to breathe. For the first time all night, Jungkook looked close to breaking. But then, a ringtone cut through the tension. Everyone froze. Jungkook slowly pulled another phone from inside his jacket. Not the burner phone. This one looked older, personal. The moment he saw the screen, all color drained from his face. Hoseok noticed instantly. No. Taehyung's stomach twisted. What is it? Jungkook didn't answer. He answered the call silently instead. For several seconds, he only listened. Then his entire body went rigid. How did you find him? Taehyung's blood ran cold. A distorted voice crackled faintly through the speaker loud enough for only one sentence to escape. Bring Kim Taehyung to us, or your brother dies. The room stopped breathing. Taehyung looked at Jungkook slowly. Jungkook wouldn't meet his eyes. And suddenly, everything made horrible sense. The expensive hotel, the rules, the obsession, the desperation behind every touch. Taehyung wasn't just someone Jungkook wanted. He was someone Jungkook was supposed to hand over. The words shattered something inside Taehyung. For a moment, he couldn't hear the alarms anymore, couldn't hear the thunder, couldn't even feel Hoseok's grip on his arm. All he could hear was that sentence echoing inside his skull. Bring Kim Taehyung to us, or your brother dies. Taehyung stared at Jungkook like he was seeing him for the first time. Every touch, every look, every kiss. Was it all fake? Jungkook finally lifted his eyes toward him, and the guilt in them was unbearable. Taehyung, don't. Taehyung stepped back immediately, voice cracking. Don't say my name like you didn't lie to me from the beginning. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to use me. The accusation hit harder than a bullet. Jungkook flinched visibly. Hoseok swore under his breath, tension radiating through the room. We don't have time for this. How long? Taehyung demanded, tears finally spilling down his face. How long was I supposed to be your mission? Jungkook looked destroyed, but he answered anyway. From the moment I met you. That honesty hurt more than any lie could have. Taehyung laughed shakily, wiping at his face with trembling fingers. Wow. The sound of another explosion thundered somewhere below them, making the floor tremble violently. Smoke began creeping faintly beneath the ruined penthouse door. Hoseok checked his gun frantically. They're coming upstairs. But Taehyung barely heard him. His entire world had narrowed down to Jungkook standing across from him with blood on his hands and heartbreak in his eyes. Then Jungkook did the one thing Taehyung never expected. He dropped the gun. The metal clattered loudly against the marble floor. Hoseok's head snapped toward him. Jungkook, what the hell are you doing? But Jungkook ignored him completely. Slowly, carefully he stepped closer to Taehyung like approaching a wounded animal. I was supposed to hand you over, he admitted quietly. That part was real. Taehyung's chest caved inward. But then I met you. Jungkook's voice broke. And suddenly the terrifying man from the elevator disappeared again, leaving behind someone painfully human. You looked at me like I wasn't a monster, he whispered. Do you understand what that does to someone like me? Taehyung's breathing shook violently, because part of him still loved the sound of Jungkook's voice, and he hated himself for it. Jungkook stopped inches away now, eyes red from exhaustion and grief. I tried to stop this, he confessed. I moved you here to protect you while I figured out another way out. Taehyung clenched his fists. There was never another way, was there? Silence answered for him. A tear slipped down Jungkook's face before he could stop it. The sight nearly destroyed Taehyung. Then, the elevator dinged. All three men froze. Heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway outside. Not two people. Not three. An army. Hoseok immediately raised his weapon again. They found us. Jungkook closed his eyes briefly. Then he looked at Taehyung one last time, with something terrifyingly close to resignation. I can still save you, he said softly. Taehyung's voice came out barely above a whisper. At the cost of your brother? Jungkook said nothing. And that silence became the answer neither of them could survive. Continue the part 3.